heard of Watch Dogs, right? Yeah. So I was like super excited. I saw like the trailer they showed off at E3, and I was like, wow, this game looks amazing. I was so want to play this. And I got it free with my graphics card for like my 2014 PC build, right?
Hmm.
And I was like super excited to play it. And I played it, and man, it was just boring. Like the game was just boring. Like it really just was boring. And I was so disappointed. I was like, this game could have been really interesting, but it was just boring. And I can't think of another. I played Assassin's Creed Syndicate because it was like free on the Epic Store,
How was that?
and it was so it was just it was the Assassin's one of the Assassin's Creed games that was set in London,
Yeah, during the
right,
Victorian era.
during the Victorian era. Yeah,
What?
and I played it, and it was awful. It was so on rails. The game practically played itself. All you basically had to do was press W to move forward continuously, while the game just basically did everything, and then you had to press left mouse button to attack things. And other than that, the game just played itself on rails.
Oh my god. Yeah, like I
You know.
I I tried playing it, but
Mm,
it just was hard.
mm, mm. I did notice it was relatively difficult, but I just hate the game design. Like the way they design games to me is just awful. So I literally can't think of a Ubisoft game that I've ever liked, right? So
Let's see. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. I don't know if you can see my screen, my stream rather. I reshared the link.
oh yeah, let's go. Cool.
Let's see. The level design in Mass Effect 2. Okay, so let's see. Sound. Uh, sound effects volume, we'll do 50.
Well, I played Mass Effect 1. I finished Mass Effect 1, and I think I got about like a quarter of a way into Mass Effect 2. Um, I really liked Mass Effect 1. Thought Mass Effect 1 was great. Definitely not a perfect game. It has its flaws, right? But like it's a genuine video game, and it tells a genuine story, right? Same with the other Mass Effect games, right? Um, but like, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. Like, I mean, I was so happy. I was actually so happy to see. They Ubisoft recently made a what's it game.
Star Wars?
Sorry.
Was it a Star Wars game or
Uh,
or
uh, Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, I heard mixed things about that. I'll get this over here.
Shepard, I think
Sorry,
we
one
have
second. My mom's talking to me.
Horizon, one of
Yeah.
our colonies
Yeah.
in the terminus systems, just went silent. If it isn't under attack, it soon will be. Has Morton delivered the countermeasure for the Seeker swarms?
Not yet.
Let's hope he works well under pressure. There's something else you should know.
Yeah, no.
One
So
of your
yeah. So
former
they.
crew
I mean,
gave me
that
the
was
link
also
to the
another
station on
cause for
Horizon.
celebration.
We should send a message.
They
to
made
the
Star
Citadel.
Wars Outlaws,
The Alliance
right?
can give us reinforcements.
And you
Not
can.
until
What
you
do you think the
I don't want
budget
the
was for
Alliance
Star
getting
Wars
in our way.
Outlaws?
Once you have the
I
situation
bet
under
it's in the
control,
millions of
I'll send
dollars.
the message personally.
Yeah,
A pretty high budget. Like
yeah,
nothing.
hundreds of
The
million dollars,
collectors just
right?
happened to pick a
I'm
colony
just looking.
with
I'm
one of
looking
my
up, but
former
it's like
crew. I don't
definitely.
buy it.
It
Yeah,
shouldn't be a
just like
surprise the collectors are interested in
between
you,
200 and
especially if
300
they're working
million
for the
dollars,
Reapers.
right?
They might be going after
You wanna
him
you wanna
to get
you wanna know
to
something
you.
funny,
What?
right? Like it only sold like 1 million copies, right?
Bruh. You would
Right.
think it would sell more than the million.
Yeah, I think honestly I
Thought
don't
you
even
Caden
think
was
it sold 1
alliance.
million.
Why is he out in the terminus?
Right, it might have sold 1 million.
Officially,
I think
it's
it
an
sold 1
outreach
million on
program to
all
improve
platforms.
alliance relations with
Right,
the
like
colonies, but they're
owners on Steam
And if they sent
right,
Commander Alenka
are
with anything big,
like
I
60
suggest you
like
take it up with
60,000 people are boy on
Send the
Steam,
coordinates. We'll
right?
head straight there.
60,000.
This is the
And then
most warning
but
we've
then
ever
obviously
had,
like
Shepard.
Ubisoft have
Good
their
luck.
own proprietary launcher, right?
Joker,
Like
set a
it's
course for
called
Horizon.
Uplay. So
I've gotta
probably
go see the
people
professor.
who are in the Ubisoft ecosystem like use Uplay and like buy the games on Uplay and stuff. And then obviously it's also on console, so PlayStation and Xbox, right? I don't think it's on Switch. But anyway, so basically they spent 300 million dollars, so let's say 250 million dollars on this game,
Tell me you have
right?
something.
They only made like 60 million dollars on the
Yes.
game. So they lost
It's a loss.
they lost at least 150 million dollars on the game. Yeah. Which is just great. It's good. It's fantastic. That's fantastic news. It really is. Right? Because they're just complete pricks. Like, I'm
Well-
sorry. I can't be nice about them. I really can't. And I can't stress enough. Sorry. I mean, I don't know. I know. I mean, this is just my opinion, you know. But yeah, sorry.
I appreciate the Ezio trilogy.
If we don't figure it out.
That's the only, like, well, that and Black Flag are my top favorite Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surprised people haven't tried to blame
And
I
me.
mean, they
per-
used to make some okay games. Yeah.
It's nothing
Yeah,
personal.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was good.
Yeah.
What
And
is
Warrior
that?
Within, it had a bumper soundtrack.
Right.
So their older games were, I appreciate their what they used to be, but
Get
now
everyone to the
I don't
safe
know what
house.
they are anymore. Dang,
Yeah.
man. And also,
Well, 'cause they yeah.
also,
sorry.
Hurry.
BioWare, like, how did they go from this to Veilguard?
I mean, I think we know why, don't we?
Yeah.
And I
Got
mean,
it.
it's because of woke politics, right?
Well, believe it or not,
Yeah.
wokeness is the least. Like Baldur's Gate 3 had wokeness too, but at the same time, it's not. No one's like trashing it for wokeness. I mean, of course, you get like occasional, like clickbait videos on Baldur's Gate 3, but nobody like cares that it's woke. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it's just the. Now, Veilguard actually it's just not a good game. Like it's just
Mm.
it just doesn't live up to the quality of old BioWare. And like what I'm trying to say is wokeness is like the low-hanging fruit that people go after.
I mean, to me, I understand that. I understand that, like, you know, okay, so like Baldur's Gate 3 has woke elements in it, but it's still a great game. People still love it. So it's like, you know, wokeness is not the reason that a game is bad, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the thing is I think that if I mean the stuff that they did in Veilguard, right? Like having in a fantasy world, in a fantasy video game set in a different planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, having this character come into a room, sit down on a table and go, I'm non-binary.
That was forced.
No, I mean, it's not forced. I mean, it's not forced. It's like, it's literal, like, bringing in 21st century identity politics, not from the world of Dragon Age, but from
Yeah.
the world of this world, i.e. planet Earth, 21st century planet Earth, taking those identity politics issues
You sure these armor
directly
upgrades
out
will
of
protect
our
us from the seeker
world
swarms?
and putting them directly into the world of Dragon Age, right?
That's like textbook definition of it.
In theory,
Like,
Yeah.
that sounds
which is
Like
why
you can't get any more blatant, any more blatantly obvious that they are taking real world identity politics out of the real world and putting it directly into their video game, right?
yeah, that's like
Because but what that means is that it means that the people who are making that game, they actually think that a video game is a platform for them to push their personal ideologies on the player.
talking down to the
Right.
player, like preaching.
Well, it's preaching. It's like I want to tell you what I think is right, and this is the platform that I'm going to use to tell you, right?
It's like a glorified megaphone.
Exact. It's like a glorified megaphone. That's a good way of putting it, right? I mean, like this is interesting. This is interesting. Take for example, this is a book I recently heard about that I thought sounds absolutely fascinating, and I want to read. Have you heard of Ursula K. Le Guin?
No.
She's not that famous these days. I mean, she was very famous in the last century. She's a very famous science fiction and fantasy writer in the 70s and 80s, but she's not very famous with modern generations, right? But she wrote a book. She wrote a short story called "The Ones Who Walk Away from Omulus." Right? It's quite a sort of weird title, but that's what it is. And it's a utopia. So like in the future, like human beings have made this perfect society. But in order to establish this perfect society, there's a catch. And the catch is that this one boy, like every generation, like one boy has to be chosen to live in in absolute suffering, right? And there's like some I haven't read the story yet, but I heard someone else summarizing it, and I just thought it sounded absolutely fascinating. And the only way that they can maintain this perfect society for everybody, or for almost everybody except one person, for some reason, is to keep this one boy living in complete suffering and like incarceration, basically, right? So in a prison, being tortured, basically, right? And basically what happened, if I understand, I haven't read it yet, but if I understand correctly, is that like some people in the society find out about this boy, that their perfect happy society where there's no crime or suffering or inequality, that their entire society is founded on the abuse and torture of this one boy, right?
They're all living in like paradise, all based on the torture of one dude.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And the reason the book is called "Those Who Walk Away from Omulus," Omulus is their city, is their perfect society. And those who walk away from Omulus are the individuals who find out that their perfect paradise is based on evil, right? And so they choose to leave. They choose to walk away from Omulus, right? Now, isn't that just like an absolutely fascinating philosophical like concept for a story? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's an absolute. Yeah. Sorry.
It's like not a variation of Shakespeare. Yeah, it is interesting. Like once you find the. What's the story called again? I want to read it.
Yeah, it sounds I'm totally buying a copy soon, and they're gonna read it. I mean, I've read some Ursula Le Guin before, and she is very good. Um, I'll write it for you in Discord.
Ursula Le Guin.
Yeah, so she's most famous. Probably she's most famous for like you know Harry Potter's really famous, really popular, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Ursula K. Le Guin wrote a series of a trilogy of novels about a boy wizard going to a wizard academy, right? In like the 70s.
So before J.K. Rowling.
Long before J.K. Rowling, right?
What?
It was called The Wizard of Earthsea. And it's about this young boy who becomes a wizard, who goes to wizard school and becomes a wizard, right? Kind of. It's kind of what it's about anyway. But it's really good. I read the first book, which is called The Wizard of Earthsea. Well, I think it's the ones who walk away from all this. But like, that's a fascinating philosophical, like, moral conundrum to be at the heart of a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and obviously there are many that story. Now I haven't read it yet, but obviously that story is exploring many philosophical, social, and political themes about the real world, right? You know,
Right.
like, why is it that there are people who live in the lap of luxury, right, while other people are homeless, right?
The divide between the rich and poor.
Yeah, or the ability of human beings to, like, basically ignore other people's suffering in order to maintain their own illusion of a perfect life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a fascinating philosophical and moral, like, why are humans like that? Why does that happen? That's like interesting, right? But Ursula K. Le Guin is not like taking 1970s society of America, which she was American, and then just like putting it in her book.
No,
It's like, yeah,
yeah, she's not taking like postmodernist themes. She's using like like not making it like about current events, basically.
right. Because she's actually an intelligent, creative writer, right? But the thing is that there has to be something really, like, wrong with you as a person, like, if you think that the art is about telling other people what to think. Like,
That's telling, not showing.
or even showing, but like, if you are literally just like using your art as a megaphone to just tell other people what they should think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't understand why that's wrong, right? You should not be making art, right?
Yeah.
Because that is not what art is. Art is not propaganda, right?
There's a difference. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, like, Veilguard is basically propaganda.
It is. It's literal left-wing identity politics propaganda, right? And it's telling the players what they should think, or it's telling the players what the authors think. And the point is that this is just like, it's wrong. It's just wrong. You know what I mean? Like, in the same way that, like, because you don't do that to your friends, right? You don't tell your friends what to think,
No,
right?
not
Like,
at all.
if I'm a Buddhist, right? I roughly adhere to the Buddhist religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I come into a call with you, and I'm like, Net, by the way, man, like Buddhism is the right philosophy, and you should basically agree with Buddhism. You should, really. And if you don't agree with Buddhism, then you're a bigot.
That's
Like,
that's basically what this is like. This sort of this whole like wokeness thing became a fundamentalist religion.
yeah, but it's wrong. Like it's
Yeah.
just morally wrong to go around telling other people what to think, and if they don't agree with you, telling them that they're bigots. I mean, the thing that is absolutely crazy about it as well is that they go around telling everybody else that they're bigots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where when what they are doing is literally bigotry, right?
They became the thing they're against.
They became the thing that they're against. Yeah. Or I mean, they're literally just projecting. They're just projecting on everyone else because they themselves are bigots, right? Like, and if somebody is like that, they should not be making video games. Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
They're in the wrong field.
Yeah, they should go if they want. If that's what they want to do, if they want to go around telling other people how to live or how to behave, they should go and start a cult, or they should go and make some fringe political party. You know.
Yeah, they're not good. They know they're not going to achieve success that way.
Right, which is why they don't do it. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's just,
need to calibrate the targeting system first.
and I mean, it's very stupid as well because the idea, right, that like you're actually gonna change anybody's mind with Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
It's probably just better if you stay out of the way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh my god.
I'll let you out
That you're gonna
fine.
like make
Go
people
behind.
like
I'm not
accept
paying
and
attention.
like trans people
I think you're gonna
by
need-
putting
mean-
that shit in a video game.
The thing is, people don't like being forced to do anything, and if you
Yeah, sure.
or propagandized to,
Mm-mm.
and if you put that sort of content hoping for an outcome of acceptance, yeah, it ain't gonna work. Like it just.
So the point, so my ultimate point, and that's absolutely correct. My ultimate point is right. Is if they're so stupid, they're so lacking in intelligence, because you have to be stupid, right, to do that. If they're that stupid, how can they be trusted, right, to make a quality video game? Yeah. I mean that is what I believe. There is a saying in in Latin. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus, right? False in one thing, false in everything, right? I mean, it's a bit of a sort of an exaggeration maybe, but like, if someone's that stupid, and anyway, they didn't make a good video game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Maybe they just don't know how to make a good video game, and they're
No, because they don't know how to make a good video game, right?
you got amateurs in the field in the AAA space. Okay, I'm not saying every AAA game developer is an amateur. I'm sure they're good ones, but their ideas are often overshadowed by these writers who think who use wokeness as a shield.
I mean, it's just I don't know how, but I mean, do you understand why I'm not just like, oh yeah, that's bad, but like it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, like
it really does matter. It's really like, and I'm not saying that because I'm against LGBTQ plus, because I'm not.
this is a phenomenon called rainbow capitalism.
Yeah. Right. Sure. Yeah.
Colonists loaded onto ship. Collector's nearly finished here.
But yeah,
and-
it's probably like
do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying any of this because I'm against gay people. Like, I'm
No,
not
it's
against gay people at all. Like, I think gay people should be as free as everybody else and have all the rights that everybody else have.
Yeah.
I think they should be able to get married adopt children if they want. That's all totally cool, right?
Oh yeah.
But the idea that you can put that in a video game, right, is just insane. I mean, it's literally nuts. Like literally nuts, you know. Um, and I don't think that mentally ill people should be making video games.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the details sort of matter there.
Yeah.
But like, so I wouldn't go that far. But yeah. I think
I mean, if you took any other, yeah, okay. I mean, maybe I'm going a little bit far.
they
I
can
mean,
they
should
can definitely make video games, but
yeah,
let the market forces decide if it should succeed or not.
that's true. Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. I actually, I was going too far with that. You're right. Yeah, people, of course, they should be allowed to make video games because they have freedom of speech, and we wouldn't want to. We definitely wouldn't want to curtail their freedom of speech. They have the right to say these things,
And we
right?
have the right to criticize them.
And we have the right to criticize them. Yeah, that's right. Criticism in a reasonable way.
Yeah.
Like not like, oh, these people. These people should go away, and like that's not cool.
No.
But I definitely don't agree with them, and I definitely, and I think it's really, lame that they took a franchise that people loved, like Dragon Age, yeah,
Mhm.
which was a dark, gritty fantasy story, right?
And they made
About
it
like
cartoonish.
yeah.
Now,
But they turned it into something that it wasn't, Yeah. Yeah.
there are isolated aspects of Veilguard I like the combat is good.
Right.
It's just the rest of the game overshadows what's good with Veilguard.
Mm.
Unfortunately. And it didn't have any bugs on launch. So that's praiseworthy.
Joker here. Signals we
But all
command
these
will
are
be-
like
Yeah.
cherry-picked good parts.
Have you played it?
No, but I've saw a Twitch streamer
Yeah.
play it.
Rectified, but it will
Yeah.
take time to bring the towers to full power. I
And
recommend a defensive posture.
I read an article on how it had virtually no bugs on launch.
Collectors will respond
Yeah.
to force to stop it.
But I mean, that's actually what video games should be. We've become. I mean, like the fact that like Ubisoft put out Star Wars Outlaws in the state that it was in.
That's disgusting.
I mean, is a travesty.
Yeah, like
they've
been getting
Yeah.
away with it for so long though.
Yeah. I mean it's bizarre that people still give them, but the good thing is that they're not actually succeeding now. Like the public have kind of, not completely, but the public have kind of got wise to it,
Oh yeah.
because people aren't buying Ubisoft games as much, right? And they're
Eventually
losing
people
money.
caught on.
you know?
Yeah.
They're losing money. The other game I was gonna bring up was they made a Avatar 2 game.
An Avatar. An
You
Avatar.
know the James Cameron film about the blue aliens.
It was a good film, but the game I guess is not good.
Well, the first one was good. I liked the first Avatar movie. That was fine. But they made a sequel called Avatar: Way of Water.
And that wasn't good.
Right. I mean, I watched the first 15 minutes of it,
Reinforcements likely.
and it was so cringe that I just couldn't keep watching it. Like, just cringe. Like blue aliens running around going, we're blue aliens. We live in a paradise and we're all hippies.
Oh my god.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that sort of cringe. Like, we're all so happy and beautiful, and everything's so beautiful. And isn't nature beautiful? Oh, how wonderful everything is. But,
Okay, it
oh
worked in the
no.
first film, but like when they were freaking out about trees getting cut down. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it made sense, but it made sense. I mean, the first film was good.
Yeah.
I mean, like the first film wasn't particularly cringe, right? It was fine, but like the new one, it like starts off with like the children, the kids of of the two heroes from the first film, right? And they're all like little teenagers going, "Oh, we're teenagers." It's like you really just want to blow them up.
Uh,
Not in reality.
how long did it
But
take them to make it? 10 years?
something like that, and a lot of money. But yeah, but the good news is that Ubisoft made a recent video game based based on Avatar. I think it's called Avatar something of Pandora. Sands of Pandora. Hang on.
Sands of Pandora. Huh.
I think,
Something
oh
about Pandora.
Frontier of Pandora. Frontier of Pandora, right? Frontiers of Pandora, right?
Mhm.
Steam says it's sold 60,000 copies.
That's pathetic.
Right. Yeah. Peak player count was 1,400. Right. And they spent $120 million.
So Concord, Star Wars Outlaws,
Star Wars Outlaws,
and this.
Avatar, and this. I mean, and yeah, there's quite a few of them out there now that have been coming out. But AAA is doing it repeatedly. They're just making crap games. Oh, the other one. I mean, this one was really, I think actually really tragic. Was this game called Unknown 9 Awakening?
Oh yeah, that's the Witcher. Anya Chalotra was.
Yeah, and Anya Chalotra, yeah.
She needs to
Yeah.
fire her agent.
I mean, she probably got paid handsomely for it.
But her reputation tanked. Because there are people
I mean, I don't.
who-
Yeah. I don't think it's going to have any particular effect on her career. I mean, she wasn't exactly an A-list actress anyway.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like she's only been in one big thing, which is playing Yennefer in The Witcher. So she's not I'm sure she's doing fine for herself. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure she's still getting jobs. Yeah, like this game has not ruined her career. That's not what the problem is. What the problem is it probably really fucked this company, right? Reflector Entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I think is really sad is that this game actually, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it,
Some type of big alliance.
right? Like,
Commander Shepard.
like it's not. It's a little bit woke, a tiny bit woke, right? But the reason one of the reasons why it failed
All the good
was
people
because
we
it was
lost,
written
left
by the
behind.
chick from
Some
Sweet
type of big
Baby.
alliance type.
Oh, Sweet Baby Inc. Oh my god.
Yeah, right.
That
Kim Belair, I think her name is. Yeah.
that company is that company is like a toxic.
Cerberus brought me back to stop attacks.
Yes.
Anything
Yeah.
they're involved in, your game's gonna get negative perception for sure. Like,
And this is the thing. This is the problem. Is that the game got like just negative public opinion because of the fact that it was involved with Sweet Baby were involved in it, right? And so but the game itself is actually innocent, right? Like the game hasn't actually done anything wrong. There's nothing really wrong with the game,
Do you really
right?
believe that?
But because it was associated with Sweet Baby, people didn't buy it.
Believe the rumors that you were alive.
And so this
But I
poor
never
game
expected
that
anything
had
like this.
a large enough
You turned your
budget,
back on
like I
everything
think it
we
had
stood
like,
for.
you know, a 30-40 million dollar budget,
You need to focus on
right?
what's happening now. You saw it yourself.
It's sold,
Collectors are targeting human
dude,
colonies,
dude,
and
it's
they're
sold
working with
like
the Reapers.
I
on
wanna believe
Steam,
you, Shepard, but I don't trust
right?
Cerberus.
It's
Hang on.
sold.
Using the threat of a Reaper to manipulate you.
like 20,000 copies,
What if they're working
Wah,
with the
wah,
collectors?
wah.
Damn it, Caden.
and like the peak player count is 285.
Listen to reason.
You show up
That's
after
pathetic.
Like that is
and tell
it's
me
fucking
working with
dire.
Cerberus.
It's dire.
There's reason for
Yeah?
doing any of this.
And like,
Changed, but I still know where my
you
line
know,
is.
so they've, you know, but the really sad thing is that
Always will be.
you know, there's nothing really wrong with this game. I mean, I didn't play it. I watched one guy play it. It didn't look like a very good game, to be honest.
The Alliance wanted to
Um,
blame Cerberus,
like it just looked
you.
really kind of like, I mean, it's like things in this game, like one of the things that I noticed in this game, for example,
Goodbye, Shepard. And be careful.
when you have to jump over a chasm, there's like jumping in the game, right?
Joker,
But when
send
you,
the shuttle
but
to
it's
the
not,
sun.
there's not really
Commander
jumping
Shepard's
in the
colony.
game. What it actually is that there are parts where you're walking and then there are chasms, and what happens is you walk up to the chasm and you press the spacebar button, you press the jump button, and the game takes control of your character and jumps you over the chasm, and then returns control of the character back to you when you've arrived on the other side of the chasm
It was good to finally
after the jump.
with the enemy.
So you're not actually jumping. Like, do you understand? Like, you're not in control of the jump.
Wow.
Yeah? The game is in control of it. And you just walk up to the place where the game wants you to jump and press the jump button, and then it jumps for you. Like, there must be something really wrong with these people. Like,
Yeah. Did
in their heads.
did
like-
it close their studio?
I mean, undoubtedly their studio is fucked now, right? Because they spent, you know, they invested a lot of money in this game, right? And they definitely didn't make their money back. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Going back to the point earlier when you said people like this shouldn't make games.
Mm.
Well, I can sort of see a case for it because it is wasting VC money. You know, money that can go towards, I don't know, good games.
I'll make sure they're ready, one way or the other. The collectors won't know what.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose as a game developer myself, I think it's really just disappointing that we live in a time where you know, we live in a time where people who really just don't know how to make good games are leading teams and leading companies, right? And just making really shitty games. You know, and I do think that's just really tragic because
I need you sharp.
it doesn't have to be like that. Like, they could be good people making games.
Gonna go take care of a little unfinished business.
I mean, it's like as a game developer, I've spent 10 plus years talking to other game developers, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, but I've met some people in game dev, both indies and who work in the industry, who are really like not very nice people,
I'll take this in my quarters.
right? And the main thing that they really suffer from is hubris, right?
They think they're so
Did-
like they're like God's greatest gift to humanity.
They really think that they're God's gift to game development, right? And what it's really about is that they don't have any self-awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
because they don't really generally they don't really understand like what actually makes a good game. They tend to follow trends, and for some reason think that they're actually innovating at the same time as following all of the trends. It's fucking bizarre. It really is. And then when you try to tell them that they're following a trend,
I have a hell of a squad.
they get upset and angry with you. And
I mean,
then yeah.
there's nothing inherently wrong with following trends, like as long as you're
Yeah.
innovating on top of that. But if you're following trends just for the sake of following trends,
What's
and
Dr. Kenson
like
actually doing up?
honestly, if I was like for my instance, I could have just created a Vampire Survivor clone and call it
Yeah.
a day. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that because that's already been there, done that, you know.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, like if you're following trends for the clout, that's cringe, and that's that's bad. That's terrible.
So I mean, I completely agree with you actually that
What's
Vampire
Dr.
Survivors
Kenson
came
actually
out
doing up there?
was a super popular game. People loved it, right? And then after that, you had like 20, 30 Vampire Survivor clones all turn up, right? And some of them did really well, and some of them were actually really good games that had innovated
I'm on an
on
important mission.
the Vampire Survivors
I'll add this to the
formula, right?
Mhm.
I think that's totally legit. I mean, I wouldn't do it myself, but I don't see any problem with people doing that. I think it's a bit creatively bankrupt, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
But like, fair enough. You've got to earn a living. You want to make fun games that people want to play, and if people like them and play them and enjoy them, fine, no problem. No big deal, right? That's not what I'm. Only thing I'm complaining about is these, massive companies employing these people who think that they're God's gift to game development, right? And they're just like they've just no idea how to make a good game. Like, and it's purely because they have no self-awareness whatsoever, you know. It's really bizarre.
Let's see.
Mm,
I got 10 Renegade.
it's really I know a lot. I've met so many people who are like that, who are just really really arrogant and really
That's where it is.
opinionated.
Yeah, arrogance.
You know, and what I really feel it is that they're arrogant. The reason that they're arrogant, right, is because they actually don't actually have good ideas, right?
It's just a way to shield their
And
insecurity.
and it's because they don't actually have good ideas, and so they basically become arrogant as a defense mechanism to like make themselves feel like they're really clever, basically, when kind of deep down they kind of know that they're not,
Mhm.
And it's just and then usually they're not actually nice people either, right? Like they're not actually genuinely nice, kind people. They're just not, right? Like they're very selfish and they're very kind of like arrogant and self-interested, and they usually don't actually have a lot of like insight into game design. I mean, it just reminds me of this one guy from Unreal Slackers. This guy called Ad,
Ad.
and that's his name. Oh, maybe his name's like Adrian or something, right?
Mhm.
And he always hang out in the Unreal Source, and he's a 3D artist, right? And the guy's doing fucking. This is what the guy's doing, like he's doing 3D sculpting, like ZBrush.
Yeah, it's
You know this? Yeah.
Is it
Like
free
it's
or?
no, it's a paid 3D sculpting tool. It's a proprietary. It's like an industry standard 3D sculpting tool, right?
Mhm.
So like professionals use ZBrush to do sculpting, right? But this guy who can use ZBrush, has ZBrush, knows how to use ZBrush, right?
Sure.
Doesn't use ZBrush, right? He does his sculpting in VR, right?
VR.
Inside virtual reality. So he sits there at his computer with a headset on, right? Sculpting, right? With, two Oculus controllers, right?
Sure.
I'm a 3D artist, right? And I know how to sculpt, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely guarantee you, without any shadow of a doubt, right, that sculpting in VR, right, is like 80% less efficient than doing it with a mouse and keyboard in ZBrush, right? like really, like so like it's not an improvement, right, to be able to like see your 3D model in front of your face in the real, like in front of you. It isn't an improvement. There are just advantages to having like a user interface that you can quickly navigate with the mouse, right? and you can't do that in VR, right? And the guy would just sit there and like go on about how sculpting in VR is like so amazing and is like it's the future, and like in the future everybody's going to be sculpting in VR, right?
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, and like, and the other thing is that you could also tell by talking to him, he was really arrogant, right? And he really thinks that he's like an amazing 3D artist, right? And like he's not bad, he's not super bad. Like the guy's he's not a noob, he's not a complete noob, he's not a novice, right? But I went and he has an Unreal Engine marketplace page. He sells some of his assets on the marketplace, and I went and looked at his stuff that he's selling, and it's so fucking mediocre. Like it's just really mediocre stuff.
What are his reviews?
No, but I mean people like it, but people who buy that kind of shit, right, are also noobs, right? Like the kind of people who buy that kind of content on the Unreal Engine marketplace are people who don't know anything about art, right? You know, there's lots of game devs out there who want to be game developers, but they just have no idea what they're doing, right?
I mean, I'm not the best with art, I guess. But
Right. Well, yeah, but there's a big difference between like not being good at something and like knowing that you're not good at something, and then like not being good at something and not knowing that you're not good at it, and like having no taste. Right?
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm being a bastard.
There's a categorical difference in like, I guess this guy just like is not self-aware.
This is the thing. Is that he really thinks that he's like a top quality artist, right? That he's like a AAA quality artist, right? And you look at his artwork, it's just so mediocre, right? But yet when he's in the chat, he talks as if he's like, a world class 3D artist who knows everything about the subject and talks down to everybody all the time, And those are the kind of people, seriously, it's people like that, right, who work at Electronic Arts, who work at Ubisoft, right? They're probably more skilled, they're probably of a higher caliber than this guy, but they have the same attitude, right? And that's why they can go into game development and make video games, right, that are just so fundamentally mediocre, and yet in their mind they're making world class quality products, like Star Wars Outlaws, right?
They think like there's prestige working at EA or whatever. Wait, no. Ubisoft is Star Wars Outlaws,
Mm.
and they're
I
sort of.
mean, the only thing that EA is good at is making sports games, right? And
Uh,
apart from that, they have a few studios that they own, right? That are actually filled with actually talented people, right? Like the guys who made Jedi Fallen Order,
oh, that
right?
game was good.
Yeah, right. It was made by what's it called? I can't remember the name of the company now. But like that, but that's not EA. That's a company that EA owns. Yeah,
It's a subsidiary.
exactly, of EA. So it's not exact. Yeah. Anyway, but they're actually a talent. They're actually a talented dev studio, right? Even though I didn't personally like Star Wars Fallen Order, but it was a quality game, right?
I mean, as a Star Wars fan, like the
Yeah.
amount of research that was done into it,
Mm.
like it was great.
Mm.
The lightsaber controls,
Mm.
the Souls-like was interesting.
Yeah.
So there are definitely like things that felt authentically Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I even though I don't personally like it, right? I respect Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order because it's an authentic game, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and they, I think Cal Kestis is a great character, right? You know, and I think they did a great job telling a kind of pretty cool story. I enjoyed the opening storyline for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. You know, when he's like in the shipyard and like he's working with his friend, the alien guy with
Oh,
the
yeah.
orange head, you know, and like the guy like falls down and he saves him with the Force, and his friend's like, "Well, like you used the Force, you know." It's actually cool, and it had good atmosphere. It was like well told, you know. So yeah, it's like an authentic game. Also, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order did well and made a lot of money, right?
Yeah, because like it was I think the biggest thing it had going for it was the lightsaber controls.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas, oh, I did review it though. Should I read you my review?
Sure.
It's 3 lines. Sorry. I'm glad you enjoyed it and had fun playing it, right? My review reads, not recommended. Cutscene wars, Jedi walking simulator. Clunky controls, boring cutscenes. Stop taking my camera control away. Thanks.
Oh my god.
That was
I
my
mean, the
review.
cutscenes could have been better. That's fair.
I mean, I tell you what, I wouldn't have minded if if you were allowed to skip them. Yeah. But you can't. You can't skip them. At least not the first playthrough. You can't. Right.
What I would like to see though is a
Yeah.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake with Jedi Fallen Order abilities, skill trees, and whatnot.
Yeah. That sounds cool. Yeah.
It's like you can make a good Star Wars game. BioWare did it.
Mm.
Oh, not to get too off topic, but assuming you're watching my stream, I'm
I've got it
playing-
on the second screen. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. You're playing as the Hammerhead, and what's cool about this? This is actually an idea I have for a hover tank that
Mm.
introduces vertical level design
Mm.
and maybe flying bubbles. I'm getting a bit scope creepy here, but genuinely thinking the vertical level design is always kind of cool.
I love verticality in level design. It's great. but I mean, I'm not. I don't know if it's a good idea in personally in Bubble Tank, right? Because it seems like it just seems like it doesn't seem particularly compatible with the game design, right?
With my initial tank, probably not.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. But like, if I included a hover tank, like the hammerhead. Is this a hammerhead? Yeah, this is a hammerhead. I don't see why not. I guess it could sort of work.
Yeah. No. So it's up to you. I mean, I think maybe there are other priorities, you know.
I do like the Firewalker missions in Mass Effect 2. Sorry, Mass Effect 1 Mako fans, but Mass Effect 2's Hammerhead takes the win.
What's the hammerhead?
Oh, it's the vehicle I'm controlling.
Right, isn't it just a Mako though?
Mako has wheels, and you can't really
Right.
you can't really
Oh, and the hammerhead doesn't. I don't know if I even got to that part. And
Oh, this is like part of their DLC. They
Okay.
have it's like linear planet exploration levels. They're way more fleshed out. But they're not necessarily open world. Like you can't explore like this planet here. You're pretty much constrained to this level, which is good because I'd rather have like a fleshed out level than you know, tacked on open world. You know.
right. So are you saying that it feels a bit tacked on in Mass Effect 2?
Mass Effect 1. Like Mass
Oh,
Effect
in Mass
1,
Effect-
all the planets are
Okay.
like the weakest part, in my personal opinion, is all the planets were samey.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I still enjoyed the Mako gameplay, personally. Yeah. Dude, this is funny, dude. Right. I'm just looking at Star Wars Outlaws Steam page, right? And I'm checking out the reviews, right? I'd read what. This is funny though. This is a review of Star Wars Outlaws. Okay, not recommended. Right, 29.4 hours on record.
Gee.
2008 facial animation, blurry textures, insane pop-ins, barely runs without frame gens, horrible 1% lows on the RTX 40 series across the board, has de novo, likely what caused the bad frame rate, requires Ubisoft Connect, boring stealth combat, non-functional enemy AI, typical soulless corporate slop, and I'm not even an hour into the game, lol. Ubisoft needs to die in the gutter, and Star Wars is going to too if it keeps on pumping out trash like this, right? I mean, that's a pretty scathing review, right? The thing that's really funny is that the Ubisoft employee has responded to it, and this is what they say. Hey, person, I'm literally terribly sorry to hear that you've encountered so many issues while trying to play Star Wars Outlaws. I completely understand how disappointing this kind of experience can be, and I'd like to help if I can.
Oh my god.
Like, I mean, it's just so desperate. It's so desperate, like that they're bothering to employ people to go and like respond to people negatively reviewing the game. It's just desperate because that I never got to this. Was that hover tank in the base Mass Effect 2 game?
Not the base game, but it's in the Firewalker DLC. This is part
Right.
of the Legendary Edition. If you get the Legendary Edition, you'll have access to pretty much all the DLCs.
Right. Yeah. And haven't they remastered them as well?
Yeah.
Is this remastered? Like they've improved the graphics? Because this doesn't look like 2012 graphics to me.
I mean, they still use the same game engine, Unreal Engine 3, but
Yeah.
all they really did though well, Mass Effect 1 is definitely more noticeable in remastered.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what they did in it across the board is they improved the lighting and whatnot.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, it looks like they've upped the texture resolution. In fact, I mean, did they may even have upgraded it to Unreal Engine 4. I wonder.
No, I wish they did. Someone did like a what if it was made in Unreal Engine 4, and they
'Cause it
showed.
looked. No, it is. You're right. It's 3. Yeah.
Was Unreal Engine 3 available to the public?
Yes. Yes. It was. Yeah. So it wasn't. So there were 2 versions of it though. Well, so basically what it was that Unreal Engine 3 was available to the public. There was something called UDK, Unreal Development Kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Unreal Engine 3, and it was free, so you could use it for free. And I think I'm not sure what I think the revenue split. I think it was the same revenue split with UDK. Like you only had to pay them if you made money out of the game. If you made like a lot of money out of the game. But the thing was that UDK was like inverted commas like the free version of Unreal Engine 3 because you didn't have access to the C++ component of the engine, right? Because Unreal Engine 3 was not open source, right?
Right.
Unreal Engine 4 and Unreal Engine 5 are both open source, right? So the source code is like on GitHub, and you can download the source code and like inspect the source code and change the source code, right? You couldn't do that. You couldn't do that with Unreal Engine 3. Well, you could do that with Unreal Engine 3, but only if you arranged a licensing agreement with Epic, right? So basically, there wasn't like you couldn't like pay a subscription and get access to it, or you couldn't and you couldn't access it through UDK. The only way you could get access to the source code for Unreal Engine 3 was to make a licensing deal with Epic. To basically go like Epic will pay you, $200,000 to use your engine, or something,
Oh wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because Epic have been licensing Unreal Engine out. I don't know if they were licensing Unreal Engine 2, but they definitely are licensing Unreal Engine 3 to loads of different studios throughout the whole life cycle of Unreal 3, right? Yeah. So you could get access to the source code for 3, like the guy when they were making Mass Effect, that's not made using UDK. That's made using Unreal Engine 3, right? Like they had access to the source code, and because they made a licensing agreement with Epic. Yeah.
There's like a deal that went on behind the scenes.
Exactly, which is honestly how most game engines how licensing for most game engines work, right?
Right.
Like the model that Unity and Unreal use is like an open. It's like it's a Creative Commons kind of deal. It's like an open source deal, right? But most game engines are not like that, right?
Like Frostbite's definitely not. You have
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to be a subsidiary of EA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would license Frostbite out to another company. If another studio like goes to EA and goes like, look, we really want to use your engine, Frostbite, we'll make a deal with you. I'm sure EA's not going to go like, no, we're not going to give you Frostbite. I mean, they might. There's lots of reasons why they may or may not. But you can. There are lots of proprietary engines out there that you can license to use if you want to.
Also,
right?
why would you want to use after what they did with Mass Effect Andromeda? No, that's a hard pass. I would not use Frostbite.
I mean, why would you? Yeah, why would you pay EA, $500,000 or $1 million to use their engine when you could just use Unreal Engine 3?
Also, EA sucks.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I mean, they're corporate scum.
Yeah.
basically. Yeah. Yeah, I mean they've got some good studios working for them, like Respawn, who are the people who make Jedi Fallen Order, right? And,
Sure.
I think Respawn also made Titanfall. Yeah,
Oh, they made Titanfall?
I think so. Let me check that.
I got bested by this Geth Colossus. I want to add a sound effect to my tank where
Yeah.
when you're taking damage, it actually plays the sound. But as you
Yeah.
take more damage, it gets, you start to hear it more and more. And honestly, I'm going to add an adventure mode to Bubble Tank Frenzy that's going to be the same design as this setup here. Because I'm having a lot
Cool.
of fun right now playing this. Like, Firewalker.
This looks really good.
Yeah, this is like Mass Effect 2 is a work of art, okay?
Yeah.
Like, people say they think Mass Effect 3 is better. Well, in terms of combat, yes. But I think the only reason I feel that way is because I played Mass Effect 2 so many times and I never get bored. Like, it's one of those games that I can just play over and over again.
Mission objectives completed.
And still have like a fresh experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, it was made in the era when like video games were actually good.
Yeah.
Like when people actually made video games to have fun and like make fun, enjoyable, awesome experiences.
I'm getting that with the
Like
indie space now.
yeah. Yeah, no, and look, and of course there are still people out there making games for the right reasons, right? Like, do you understand? That's why I was saying that, like, people who buy who BioWare are now, right? Like, they shouldn't be making video games. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It pains me to say it, but no, they should
so,
just sell that franchise, Mass Effect, to like a more passionate studio.
sorry, 1 second, my mum needs me. Just 1 sec.
Sure.
Like, yeah. I mean, I suppose on some level, like they must have made. I suppose on some level they must have made. The people who made Dragon Age Railguard must, on some level, have thought that they were making it to be an enjoyable video game. On some level,
I
right?
mean, I'm sure there are people in the development team,
Yeah.
individuals who actually were passionate.
About it, yeah.
I mean, I can tell just from the gameplay. Some of the combat was, what am I trying to say here?
Yeah.
Some of the combat was like you could tell there's care that went into the good parts of it.
Yeah. But also, like, I mean, the point is like, if you've got bad story writers writing the story of your game, like they're not going to come up with like interesting and cool and fun ideas for you to build the world around.
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna, because the reason why they're so obsessed with this identity politics shit, right, is because they don't actually have any good ideas. Like
No.
because they spend all their time thinking about stupid, meaningless shit, right? Like whether they're a man or a woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's retarded.
Stuff
Like,
that you shouldn't really focus on when developing games.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's very sorry. I'm just bashing. I'm just bashing them now.
Oh wait, that's another implementation. I'm just straight up admitting I'm stealing ideas from Mass Effect 2. But an environmental effect. So you have to get to a safe zone before you freeze. Which is weird here because I guess vehicles engine has to like not freeze.
Yeah.
Caution, engine temperature falling.
which doesn't actually make scientific sense.
I mean, this is not Earth. This is like a different planet.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say that is because you know, obviously, what's it? You know, spacecraft are capable of insulating themselves from the vacuum of space, right?
That
Which is
true.
like, so why would a planet be colder than the vacuum of space?
Make it make sense.
I'm not sure there is a way to make that make like unless there was like some kind of like energy field that was actively like drawing heat out of the ship, right? Because
Yeah.
heat doesn't transfer like automatically, right?
Mhm.
Like it has to transfer through a heat transfer mechanism, right?
Right.
Which is usually like convection, right? Or radiation, right?
Mhm.
And the way that objects lose heat in space is through radiation, right?
Right.
Which is, you know, basically because it's hot, it emits infrared radiation, and that means it's losing energy, right? That energy is dissipating in space, right?
Mhm.
But radiation is actually like radiation as a heat transfer mechanism is actually very slow. It doesn't lose a lot of you don't lose a lot of heat through radiation, right?
Right.
The really you know bad hit or the really fast or powerful transfer mechanism is convection, which is when you're touching something
That should do.
that's cold, basically,
Mhm.
right? Like the air, or you're touching a piece of ice, right?
Right.
And it's like, you know, and then so it's like it's like physically interacting with you or with the object. So like, so for example, if the ship was encased in ice, right? That would be a good reason for it to like start cooling down, right?
Mhm.
To the point where they they had to stop it from freezing, basically, right? That would make sense. But since they're not like in a block of ice, I can't think of a good physics reason why you'd have to stop the ship from freezing. I don't know. I'm just being pedantic. It doesn't matter. Obviously, it's a game. It doesn't matter. So, I mean,
Logic
like that's
be
a tech.
damned.
Yeah, I mean that's a sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you. You died. Sorry, dude.
No, you're good. I didn't die. I actually finished the level.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't think that science fiction always has to be technically accurate. You know.
Well, I mean, how do you build a warp drive?
I mean, there are scientific theories about how it can be done, right? But you still need, you know, fictional
I detected an
elements
anomaly.
to make it work, right?
Yeah, like in Mass Effect, you have these element zero, which is
Yeah.
space
Mm.
magic.
On our sensors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there isn't. I mean, there isn't. If you're talking about like hard science fiction, i.e., science fiction that just tries to be 100% technically accurate, scientifically accurate, like, you know, we don't know of a way to make faster than light travel happen, right? Like we've got ideas about how it could happen, but we don't actually know how to make it happen, sadly.
Mhm. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we'll get there.
I do believe that we may one day figure out how to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But
It's just
it's a long way in the future before we figure that shit out. Like, yeah.
oh, we're in a volcano. Goddamn.
I think faster than light communication, right, might be a lot easier to do, right?
I mean,
Like,
like quantum communication. I don't know if
well,
that's
the thing
faster
is,
than light.
well, I mean, quantum. You see, the thing is, quantum mechanics does allow for for things happening fast, sort of technically faster than light, right?
Right.
But the problem is that right now our current understanding of it is that you can't use that mechanism to transfer information, right?
Mhm.
So in quantum mechanics, there's this thing called spooky action at a distance, or um, particle entanglement, basically, right?
Right.
Have you heard of this?
Quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
when two
yeah.
particles separated by distance are actually close. Close, I guess that's my understanding of it at least.
So that, well, yeah. So they're like separated by a large distance, but they're actually somehow like linked to each other, basically. So that they're like, when one of them changes, the other one changes as well, right?
Mhm.
And this can happen, um, like, and it doesn't matter how distant the particles are. So they could be like a light year away, but like one changes, then the other changes. So, but the problem we have at the moment is that like we think that we can't use that mechanism to actually transfer information, right?
Mhm.
Because of the fact that you basically, like, you can't know both the position and the spin of a particle. You can only know one of them. So you can know its spin, or you can know its position, but you can't know its position and its spin at the
But not
same
both.
time.
It's like either or.
Yeah, like you can't know both, and because you can't know both of those values, you can't actually use it to send information, right?
Hmm.
There's also something else which was really interesting. And I mean, the other problem with like faster than light travel, I don't know, it's really weird, but like there's other thing, which is that apparently you by sending information faster than light, you kind of break causality, right?
Causality. Causal.
Y-
Wait, what does that mean?
Like causality, which is like, causality is the principle that um, effects always follow causes, right? Like, or that cause always precedes effect. That's causality, right?
Mhm.
But if you can travel, the point is if you can travel faster than light, right? You could essentially break causality. So you could essentially like, you'd essentially be traveling back in time, right? So you'd be like making effect precede cause, right? And so it would violate the rules of causality, right?
Ah.
There's reasons for this. It's really fucking complicated, right? There's a really great, if you're interested in it, there's a really great video in it, by this like PhD professor dude. I'll find it. It's a bit, it's a bit of a head scratcher though. Like, um, yeah. I mean, so there's two videos actually on it, on the subject, by the same guy. He's like a professor of astrophysics. I'll send the videos in Discord. I might watch these again. Actually, I haven't seen them in a while.
This volcano's about to explode.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, I mean, apart from all these silly companies, AAA companies making silly games, the good thing is that indies are coming back. Or get indies is like a resurgence of indies, right?
Oh yeah, like there's definitely like we're filling in the void that is left by these companies.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very much dedicated to trying to make actually good games, right?
That means you're doing it right.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope we succeed in making a good game. I mean, personally, for me personally, if I was ever going to put like political themes in a video game, what I would do is that I would show, not tell. So it's like I would write a story about the good guys and the bad guys, right? Or the good guys and the morally grey guys, or everybody being morally grey, right? Or something like that, and then I just tell a story, right? And I just allow the player or the viewer, to make their own decision about what they thought was right and wrong,
Yeah.
based on what's presented to them in the story, right? Because what you're really trying to do with storytelling is you're trying to evoke emotion in the viewer, you know. Like why is like a film like Schindler's List so so amazing, and it's because it's evocative. It makes you feel something, you feel sad for the people in the story.
Because
Right.
you sort of build a bond with the characters.
Through watching it, and it's telling a story of things that really happened, and it's like, wow, that really happened. That's really sad, and it's tragic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no tragedy in Dragon Age Valgod. You know what I mean?
There's
It's just
tragedy
like-
in Origins.
Right, exactly, yeah. People like that game.
Launching probe.
People who weren't insane like that game.
Which is the base,
Commander,
the player
you've received
base.
a new message at your private
Yeah.
terminal.
The Gears of War director, I think, spoke on this.
Right.
Talking down to your player base ain't the way to go. Was, case in point.
Talking down to anybody in life.
Well, yeah, but
You know what I mean?
in this context, like talking down to, which is what these companies are doing. Like they're talking down to the players
Mm.
for pointing out flaws.
No, they are. You're right. They're talking down to the players. They're treating the players like the players need to be educated.
No, we
My
don't
God.
need to be educated.
I mean, God, like what was it? I was watching. I was watching the new Venom movie. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I got about halfway through it, and I was like, I'm going to bed. And I couldn't sleep, so I got up, and that's when I joined your stream. Look, it's okay. It's not as good, in my opinion. So far, it's not as good as the first one. The first Venom movie was actually really fun, and I really liked it. The second one was a bit trashy, and I think probably the third one's shaping up probably to be the least entertaining of all three. But was it? What does he say? It's like this line in the film. That was it. Yeah, like they go to like. Have you seen the first Venom movie?
I haven't seen any of them actually.
Okay, so basically, I mean, this isn't a spoiler. Basically, the whole plot of the whole like character is that like Eddie Brock, right, is like a reporter. He's like a kind of maverick, maverick, like daring reporter who breaks big stories and unveils corruption and he's a good guy basically, right?
Hmm.
He's a good reporter, and basically he gets possessed by this alien parasite, right? Which is Venom, right? Which is this like black goo alien, right? But Venom is not actually just a parasite. He's actually like a symbiote, right? So he feeds off of Eddie Brock's life force, but at the same time as that, he like grants Eddie Brock like superhero powers, basically, right?
That's a symbiote.
Yeah. So a parasite is like an organism that like attaches itself to another organism, but like only takes from that organism. So it like drains that organism without giving anything in return, right?
With this.
That's a parasite, right?
Hmm.
Like a flea, for example, right? Or a mosquito. They're parasites. Because they don't give you any, they don't give anything to the host. They just like bite you and suck your blood. Right? They're parasites. Whereas a symbiote is something that like it might take something from its host, but it also gives something back to its host. And so they live in a sort of harmonious relationship or a symbiotic relationship, right? But yeah, so that's the story of Venom, right? So basically, they become like the same. They become like the same person, kind of. But it's like two people inhabiting the same body, basically, right?
Right.
And it's Eddie Brock, who's like a good guy, and Venom, who basically is a kind of like. He's not exactly evil, but he's kind of evil. He's a kind of anti-hero, right? And they're in kind of like constant conflict with each other because they share the same body, right?
But they're just different on the good evil spectrum. They're just
exactly
on opposite sides.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but because they share the same body, they kind of have to work together. So it's actually a really fun and interesting character dynamic, right? They do it actually pretty well in the films. It's pretty funny. Like it's a comedy. It's a black comedy, right? But also a superhero movie. And it's a lot of it's actually pretty good. But I mean, this is just an example. I'm just thinking of this example that I saw today was. So like he goes to Las Vegas. Long story why he's there. He's in Las Vegas, and like they go up to. There's this woman and there's a street performer. You know those like stationary mimes you get in the cities who like stand there completely still.
Yeah, like I think it's French origin.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, and there's one of those, but dressed as the Statue of Liberty. Right?
Mhm.
And she's like standing there in the street and he walks past her and he turns to her and like Venom like pops out and he's like, no one else can see Venom apart from Eddie Brock, right? Most of the time. And he pops out and he's like, you know, Eddie, I really want to go to New York and see the Statue of Liberty. Right? And Eddie Brock replies, yeah, you do know, Venom, like that they built the Statue of Liberty to welcome aliens. Right?
Oh yeah.
And and it was just so on the nose. Do you know what I mean? Like it was clearly the writer going to like Americans, stop being racist, you fucking Trump supporters. You know?
Well, not every American's a Trump supporter.
No, of course.
Yeah, that's a sort of like subtle thing.
But the problem is it wasn't subtle at all. It was really blatant and on the nose, right? And it's literally an example of the writer fucking preaching to the audience, and talking down to the audience like you're all so fucking stupid, like that you don't know that I mean, just it's not cool. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, Mass Effect 2 with the thing actually looks genuinely fun.
Yeah, like you should definitely, if you haven't already, get the Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
The thing
If
I
I
like
ever
about
end up,
the
sorry, go on.
the thing I like about the Legendary Edition is it's all three games as one game, one cohesive story.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Which is like long overdue.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Mass Effect 2 that I played was a standalone game, and I don't think I don't have the updated version, so yeah.
Blue Sun's mercenaries. What are they doing here?
I won't be responsible for another Geth attack. Another Eden Prime. I've silenced
They all think the Geth
forever.
are the real
Mm.
enemies. Nope, not even remotely close to true.
It's the Reapers.
They're still in my head.
Yeah, Mass Effect 1 already revealed that.
Yeah.
So it's not really much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
And it,
Sure.
like, that's literally like you trying to convince others that, yeah, it's the Reapers. There's a bigger threat here than you all know.
Yeah.
They're
Poor
making...
Geth.
Huh. Oh, what's this? An orb. Wonder what this is. Mass Effect Andromeda did not have this sort of charm that the original trilogy had.
Yeah. I did play Mass Effect Andromeda for a bit, but refunded it because I actually I liked the gameplay. Like the gameplay of Mass Effect Andromeda was fine, but the writing was just terrible.
Like, what happened? It's like a big... We know what happened, but like, at the time, that's like what ruined gaming for me. Believe it or not, I took like a 2-year hiatus from gaming, all because of Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, I was so hyped for the game, but then it ended up being a complete crap show that I was like, okay, like, what's the point to anything? Like,
Yeah, and it is sad. It's sad that they do these things. You know, it's really bizarre.
yeah.
I was the same. I was the same. I was super hyped for Mass Effect Andromeda. I was really looking forward to it, and I bought it. I bought it in like the first week of launch to play it. You know, I was super excited for it,
How
and
buggy
it was
was
just
it?
how
bad?
buggy.
Like, how bad were the bugs? I heard like it was...
I mean, I don't think I encountered like lots of or any game breaking bugs when I played, but like, I mean, that wasn't what turned me off about the game. It was the writing. I mean, I just thought the writing was just fucking dire.
Ugh.
Like, do you remember in Mass Effect Andromeda when that's the beginning of the game? Like, they've arrived on the new planet that they've coming to colonize, right?
Newer, Habitat 7. New
Right.
Earth.
And they're going down through the atmosphere in the dropship, right? And the two characters are like standing in the open doorway of the dropship as they're descending through the atmosphere, right? With their helmets off, right? And I was looking at the screen as they were standing there, like chatting to each other, like standing in the cargo bay of the ship with the doors open, going to myself, like you're descending into the atmosphere of an alien planet that you haven't visited before, like, and you're standing there in the open doorway. Or like, I hope you don't like run into any turbulence and like get thrown out of the doorway.
That's
Right.
exactly what happens.
And then what happens like 30 seconds later? The ship gets struck by lightning and they get thrown out of the doorway. It's just like, like what? Do you know what I mean? It's just, and then I like knew something was wrong from that point onwards, you know, and then it just went downhill from there. You know?
Commander, it's pretty crazy the people you can run into out here, huh? I mean, it was probably a setup or something, but it was still.
Now what I just saw there was properly cool, right?
Another reminder of how I
It's
lost more
That
than
was
2 years.
that was
I
fun,
don't
yeah.
need this garbage.
Right. Understood, Commander.
That's it for now.
See you,
like,
Commander.
what broke it for me was like I can't exactly pinpoint where it started to go wrong. Like
The elusive man wishes to speak to you in the debriefing room.
already.
Was it? My face is tired from the
That one.
from my face is tired from the
The removal of Paragon and Renegade.
right.
That just it's like removing Mass Effect from Mass Effect.
Right, sure. Yeah, yeah.
None of your choices matter.
Right. Yeah.
Shepard, we caught a break. I intercepted a distress
All
call
the
from
characters,
Turian patrol.
except for a few,
They
but
stumbled
all the
onto a collapsed
characters,
ship beyond the Corliss system.
like
The
NPCs,
Turians were wiped out, but not before they crippled
pretty much all the
collector vessel.
NPCs are
I
forgettable.
need you to board that ship and get some hard data on the collectors.
Yeah.
Find us a way to get to their home world.
Hard to
Yeah,
imagine how a
sure.
Turian
Sure. I
patrol
didn't get
could
far
ever
enough into the game to like really know.
Reports
I'm afraid.
indicate the hull is intact, but all systems seem to be offline.
I'll do a
They
playthrough
could
on
be
here for
making
fun,
repairs as we
but
speak.
I don't know.
I'm not saying
Not
it won't
really
be
feeling.
dangerous, but we can't let an opportunity
No,
like
it's
this
it's,
slip
it's
by.
all right. I'm not particularly concerned.
If they had a patrol out there, why aren't the Turians
I mean,
sending
if you
guards?
like
They
if
would
you
have
like
eventually,
choices matter
but I
games,
intercepted the transmissions.
right? Like you
We
like
need
the
to have
Paragon
clean
system and stuff.
reports. You're close enough that
Yeah.
you can be in and out before the Turians learn the
The
truth.
absolute best example
this
of
information
that
is good?
kind of system, like
Information is
choices
my
matter
weapon, Shepard.
in like moral decisions in a video
Send
game.
me the coordinates and I'll
The
take care of
absolute
it.
best example of that I've ever played
Once you're aboard the
is
ship,
Vampire the
establish an
Masquerade
uplink with
Bloodlines.
Edie. She'll mine their
Damn,
data
I
for
feel like I heard
information
of that.
regarding the Omega-4 relay.
It's quite famous, yeah. It's a like cult game basically, and it's old. It's like from 2005, right? So like Mass Effect before Mass Effect 1. But it's an amazing game. Really is. Absolutely amazing. And like your choices really do matter in the game. And I mean it isn't as simple as just like Paragon or Renegade. There's like loads of different choices that you can make about who you side with in the game, like which faction you decide to join,
We have a
who you
visual
end up
collectorship community.
like trusting, who you end up betraying. It's really good. It's the writing is just amazing.
That thing is
Yeah.
massive. How the hell did the Turians take it out?
Yeah, very cool game.
This is weird. I've just done side quests past Horizon, which is like a turning point. To Act 2. And I've been like thwarted to this mission here. But usually in order to get to this point, you have to do a couple of main quests. And I just done side quests up to this point, so I'm like, wait, why am I... This is so weird. This is so interesting.
This vehicle looks really fun though. My mum's back.
Yeah. I might end the stream a little bit to, you know, get some lunch.
Hey, no, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, I'm getting pretty hungry and sleepy as well.
Oh yeah, it's midnight for you, right?
No. It's 25 past 5. Must be like midday for you.
Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah. No, I'm only 5 hours ahead of you.
The colonists
So-
might be on board.
I'm not on the other side of the planet.
Oh.
Like midnight, where like 12 hours ahead of you is like North Korea, or sorry, South Korea, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
or Japan, I think, right?
There, it's midnight.
This looks bad.
Yeah, I think it's midnight in Japan now, or no, it's not. It's like 2 a.m. in Japan now. So because I think you're only 10 hours ahead of Japan,
Bodies just left here.
right?
They're just
Mhm.
things
Or
for collectors.
yeah, 10 hours. Well, no, you're not 10 hours ahead. You're no, I don't know. My brain isn't working.
Nothing we can do.
Right, it's all good. Yeah, nice hanging out with you, Nep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let me save here. I'll probably like continue streaming like later on today.
Okay.
I'm gonna take my
yeah.
time with Mass Effect 2 because this is my favorite game of all time.
Cool, awesome.
So
Yeah, it does look really fun, to be honest.
yeah, like take it from me. I mean, I'm a bit biased here, but it really is fun.
Yeah. Cool level design, like exploring around, jumping about on in the Mako new Mako thing.
I think I got
Hammerhead.
some insights for level design for
I mean,
the
it's a good way to
adventure
learn.
mode.
Yeah, it's a good way to learn level design is to like play your favorite games. Like, how did they do it? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And try to recreate that. Alright.
Yeah. All right, man. Hey, thanks for the fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Also, it's New Year, so happy New Year as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Happy New Year.